You've advised practically every Republican nominee and precedent in my lifetime here, and you've always been a free trader and anti-tariff. So, I hear you kind of like trying to navigate not condemning this, but like so many other Republicans, including people like Marco Rubio and others in the Senate and in Congress, who are now bending themselves into pretzel shapes. I mean, it's like this sudden change that's a little hard for me to understand. Yeah. I also, look, this week I think has been a disaster, and part of it is because they based, well, the messaging has been bad. Right. It's been all over the place, and there's been a lot of conflict within the administration, but also the policy is bad, and the math they based it on, according to mathematicians who have looked at the formula that they printed out on a big poster and put out, is wrong. They've imposed tariffs on penguins. They haven't imposed tariffs on Russia. I mean, it has made absolutely no sense. And when you hear people who loved Donald Trump, supported Donald Trump, gave him money, people like Ken Langone, Home Depot, people like Bill Ackman, people who have gone, gotten into fights for months.
Can we correct the Russian thing? Because Scott, we're not trading with Russia. They have sanctions.
We do $3.5 billion in
we have sanctions on Russia.
Yeah, but I know
North Korea.
The number is not zero, what we do with Russia. The number is zero on the island with the penguins.
Yeah, we trade more with Russia than we do with Herd and McDonald's.
Isn't the issue with the islands is that China can use those small countries as a possible
the island doesn't have any humans on it.
Also, these penguins, they dress like elitists. They had it coming. I just want to point out.
I mean, I don't think
there's reasons they were on there. I'm just saying.
Well, I think
the Russian thing's been overstated.
I don't think that you throw zero tariffs on Russia and then massive tariffs on other countries that are basically doing almost no trade with the United States.
I think that there is something to what you say. I don't think this has been handled that well, and you're right. The markets have reacted pretty ferociously against this. But I will say this.
And the math has been erroneous. The mathematical formula.
Scott made an important point just a few minutes ago. This is the new Republican Party, whether you like it or not. I mean, Trump won because he won blue-collar union voters, and he and the Republicans view that as the base of the party now. And it's different. It's different than when Reagan won, where it was mostly wealthy people. Now the wealthy people vote Democratic, and middle-class people are generally voting Republican. And so this is a policy position that's actually fairly popular with Americans. You're right. I'm a free trader.
Which part, Scott? I'm sorry, Steve. Which part do you think is popular? Because I don't think that's true.
Well, let me just say this. Even though Trump knows I'm a free trade guy, and he knows that I oftentimes oppose these policies, he still calls on me. He likes to get different opinions from different people. And in the end of the day, I'm going to predict this has been a rough period, no question. But Trump is a winner. He's a master negotiator. I think at the end of the day, you're going to have these countries calling him up on the phone one by one and making a deal with them. It's going to be good for
what's going to happen to the U.S. economy in the meantime, Chairman?
Stephen made the point talking about working class voters, and now the Republican Party is more multiracial and working class compared to years before. And when you look at it from the perspective of people in the Rust Belt, what have they seen since the early 90s as a result of free trade? 5 million jobs over 2 decades eliminated. 90 good-paying manufacturing jobs, by the way. 90,000 factories closed. That's an estimate. Then you move forward to the early 2000s, increased imports with China, known as the China shock. You're aware of this, Stephen. You've written about it. That also eliminated 2 million additional jobs. So you're talking about over 2.5 decades, about 7 to 10 million jobs eliminated, good-paying jobs for blue-collar people. They completely feel ignored. They completely feel forgotten. And so Donald Trump focusing on trying to level set, to your point, and bring back some level of manufacturing, even if it's modernized, not going back to the 80s or 90s, I think is a good thing.
Even if it's robots?
It could potentially benefit those working class
even
people.
If it's robots? I mean, if it's robots doing these jobs, then what's the point?
Abby, chip manufacturing, you got to bring some of that back to the United States.
I know, I get that.
We're not at a place where machines can repair themselves when they're damaged. You need to have a skilled workforce being able to take care of those things. But do you understand my point, Michael, is that we are increasingly about to be in an economy where a lot of these jobs that he wants to bring back are not going to be done by humans. Maybe there will be one or two overseeing the robots, but they've acknowledged that. Bessent and Howard Lutnick have both said that over the last few days. Automation
that automation, AI,
sure.
robots are going to replace most humans in those jobs.
Yeah, that's not
so
just
what
a
is
problem for the
what is
United States. That's a
the
global,
formula for manufacturing renaissance in that scenario?
Sure. That's a global issue. That's not just an issue that the United States singularly has to face. And I would say at some point we probably need to start preparing our workforce to be prepared for a modernized world. We haven't done that in 2 or 3 decades.
I guess the question is, how does
to have some conversations about returning some jobs to people while we still can, I think is a positive
I think
thing.
that's fine.
But that obviates, what we're not talking about is the incredible pain that is going to be felt precisely by the blue collar people, right? Who are going to go to the grocery store, because we're focusing on the markets and we're focusing on Stephen Portnoy having lost $20 million and the billions of dollars that Jeff Bezos has lost and Elon Musk and all of that. The thing is, these rich people can say don't panic and don't sell because they've got more millions that they can live off. But the person who's going to go buy the car, or the person who's buying clothing from China, or the person who's going to the grocery store and buying the bananas from Ecuador and the avocados from Mexico and the limes from Mexico, they're going to see that price increase tomorrow.
Isn't it the opposite though?
Let me just play.
going to recover.
Hang on a second. Let me.
Do you understand that there are people in this country
second.
who cannot endure short-term pain?
Of course, but you know what? Let me just go through a couple points. In 1987, we talked about the S&P falling 10%. We've only seen this 4 times. In 1987, it occurred. We saw a bounce back of 102%. November 2008, a bounce back of 105%. In 2020, a bounce back of 94%. It recovers, and it recovers stronger than it was before. That is absolutely
Sure, Michael. In none of those cases that you
people.
just cited is it a man-made crisis.
makes it easier.
This is created by one person. Donald Trump. This isn't COVID. This isn't a financial bubble. This is all manufactured, created, drummed up by this insane man who is our president. And yes,